Hi there again. Um, you can consider this kind of part two, I guess. We'll probably have many more videos to come on this topic regarding branch and structure and how we can prune our trees in that open environment, like our yards, to be longer sustainable trees in our properties in the urban setting. How this is all relevant, really, it comes down to these trees in the woods have the same forces acting on them as they would if they were in your backyard. We basically got the risk of accumulation of ice through freezing rain. That adds a lot of weight, obviously, and often results in limb and stem failure, weak attachment points. Then we got accumulation of snow, which usually isn't that big of a factor as long as we have a little bit of wind to blow the snow off the branches. So snow isn't usually that big of a deal. It's less common than ice buildup as far as serious threat to trees. And then we have wind. So wind is a big deal, obviously, for pretty much any region that you may live. So when you have the tree fully leafed out and you've got unusual direction in the wind and it's gusting up to 60-70 miles an hour, it's quite common to have urban trees sustain pretty bad injury. Limbs, stems, codominant stems rip out. Now this tree here in the woods, it's got some benefits, and this is what it evolved with. This is what the tree's used to. It's got trees all around it on all sides, kind of occupying the same space. So the forces from wind are protected by being in this shared canopy space with these surrounding trees. This tree is not out in the open. It's not in a field. So the wind factor here is less of an issue. Ice accumulation, that can be a problem for trees in the woods. But when the branches are as small as they are here on this tree, for instance, they're 1/4 or less than the size of the parent stem. If you lose a branch or two or three or four even from heavy ice accumulation, the tree really won't even care. It will just keep on going, keep on trucking. Whereas in the urban setting, in your backyard, when you get heavy ice accumulation from freezing rain, you might lose half the tree, and then the heartwood is exposed, decay sets in, and at that point you basically just have an expiration date in that tree because of decay and weakness. So what this all boils down to is this tree, sugar maple, it didn't evolve trying to sustain a lot of weight. It didn't. Unlike our trees in the urban setting. Imagine a deer, for instance, a white-tailed deer. How big are they? Even a large one, 160, 170, 180 pounds. That's what they're used to being. That's what their little legs can carry and support. And, now imagine if you saw a deer that was 350 pounds, maybe even 400 pounds. I don't think that deer would perform very well. I think it'd be pretty easy pickings for predators. It would be a lot less likely to travel long distances between feeding grounds. But basically the point that I'm saying with that is a species evolves with a certain set of common parameters. Your body can sustain X amount of weight. If you triple that, you're going to struggle to survive. There's going to be issues. There'll be health issues. What I'm saying is the same kind of applies to trees. When you put a 16-inch maple tree, sugar maple, in a backyard, and the canopy weight with foliage and all the extra branches, all the extra codominant stems and bad unions that weren't corrected early on in its life, you've got a tree that is probably 2 to 3 times its normal canopy weight. When you add in factors of the weather, like we said, freezing rain, heavy snow, extreme wind conditions, your tree is going to fail. At least it's going to be a lot more likely to fail. So how do you prevent that? Well, the tree's not going to do it without our help, you know. That's why arborists have been trained to identify weak unions, branches that are overburdened with too many smaller branches and too much growth coming off of them, too much weight acting on their attachment point. Just the torque that's applied to the branch union at the stem gets to be so great that the tree just doesn't have the ability to sustain that. And arborists, we need to prune and thin trees and, you know, basically improve branching structure so that the tree can tolerate these changing conditions that happen every year, you know, our weather, our wind, our ice, or snow. So next I'll show you a tree that's open grown that has a more typical structure that we're used to seeing, and we'll talk about that. Thanks.